Hello everyone, welcome to my class. Myself Trishita Ghosh, Assistant Professor, Department of Information Technology, Guru Nanak Institute of Technology, Kolkata. In my previous lecture, I have covered the topic Introduction to Data Structure, where we have discussed about the definition of data structure, then the classification of data structure, and brief about linear and nonlinear data structure. Then we have talked about the algorithm, and finally we have talked about the abstract data type. Today I am going to discuss about the array, which is a linear data structure. So in today's topic we will cover the definition of array, or you can say what is array, then what are the types of array, and the representation of array in computer memory, then some problem which are important for the students. Some assignment will be given on that also. So what is array, types of array, representation of array element, address of array element, and assignment on this lecture series. So first we have to know what is array. Array is a collection of similar data type stored similar data types element stored in contiguous memory location. So array can store homogeneous data. Means in one array we can't store one integer, one float, one character kind of element. For this we have to choose structure. But for array we can store the similar kind of data. Means if we are storing the integer type of data, then only we can store that type of data. If we are created one character array, then we can store the characters only on that particular array. And for array, the element, suppose we know the address of this element 7, then easily we can find out the address of all other element present on that array, as they are stored in contiguous memory location. Suppose the address of 7, suppose the address of 7 is 100. Suppose the address of 7 is 100, then the 5, it must be, suppose integer is taking for nowadays for Pentium 4 machine, we can say it take 4 bytes of memory, but theoretically we know the integer value take 2 bytes of memory. Suppose we are going for the Pentium 4 machines and it take 4 bytes of memory, so for 5 it will be stored in 104 location. If theoretically we can say, if 7 is stored in 100, then for integer value it will be stored in 102. Like this, if we have declared an array like char a, then 10, means what? It means it is a character kind of data. It is a non-primitive data structure because we are deriving this array from a primitive data, that is character. Primitive data is character, and we are going to store 10 number of values over there. So if the location of the first element, first character a is 200, then the second element will be stored in 100, 201. In that way we can store the value. Now we will talk about the indexes. What are given? That is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All these are index for this array elements. Same thing, I can say that this is also depends on the programmer. If you are going to run a for loop like from 1, then the element will be start storing from index 1. If you are going to start from 0, it will start storing the data from 0. But depends on the number of element what you are storing, what you are giving as condition. That much number of element it will take. So 7 is there in index 0, and the location of this, if we know, which is known as base address, we can find out the address of any element present on that array. So these are the array index and those are the array elements. Okay. So this is the contiguous memory location, and we can store only similar kind of data or the homogeneous data on an array. So if it depend what kind of element it will store, it depend on the type of the array, and it depends on the number of element or on the declaration. If we are giving the array size 10, then in the compilation time it will occupy the memory for 10 number of elements. So what we are doing, whenever we are giving the array size, it depends that it will occupy the memory for that much of element. And that is the big disadvantage of array. Suppose we have to store the data for, or the name for, or the roll number for, or the marks for a student. Okay, there are 5 subjects, and we are going to store the we're going to store 10 data over there. Then if the size is 10 and we are storing 10 data, then it's okay. But if the size is 100 and we are storing only 10 data, then it will be wastage of memory, and that is the big disadvantage of array. Okay, so that's why the linked list concept has come around, and which is based on dynamic memory allocation. So we are talking about array, so let us concentrate on that. So what are the types of array? There is mainly, we can say that there are 3 kinds of array. One is one-dimensional array, second is two-dimensional array, third one is multi-dimensional array. Means it depends how many arrays are there and what are the array dimension. So first is one-dimensional array, where we have this element 5, 7, 8, 1, 6, as it is written that int x 5. Int x 5 means it may hold maximum 5 element. We can keep 3 element over there, but maximum we can keep 5 elements over there. And the index for 5 is 0, 7 is 1, 8 is 2. Like this way it will run. Okay, so this is one-dimensional array, and the element is stored in row wise or in row major order they have stored. Okay, if we are storing the character kind of data, then we should write here char then x 5 if we want to store 5 character on that array. It depends on the size how much element it will take. Then is two-dimensional array, where it is a form of matrix. here you can see the index, the position is written as x00. X00 means what? This is the index value. What I have talked for this one dimensional array also. This is the index value, and for this the row number is 1, also the column number is 1. So there is a array, there is an array having 3 rows and 4 columns, having 3 rows and 4 columns. Okay, and the position of this array element, if we start storing the data from 0th index, then it will be 0 0 for the first row and first column. Similarly, for first row, second column, it will be 0. First one is a row number, second one is the column number. Like this way, the position of the element which is stored in row number 2 and column number 3, it will be x1 and column number will be 2. Now this 0, this 1, what all these things? When we start storing the data, the first index is known as lower bound and the last index is known as upper bound. Now we have to store the value. If we implement it by C language, then for loop will be there. If we start for loop from 0, then the lower bound will be 0, and the upper bound, it will depends on the number. Means if we are storing 5 number of values and the lower bound is 0, then the loop will run up to 4. So 0 for this one dimensional array, the lower bound will be 0 and the upper bound will be 4 over here. Okay, similarly for this, for two dimensional array, the lower bound for the first dimension, if we say this, is 0 and it will run up to 2. You can check the picture that the lower bound for this first row is 0 and the last row is maximum 2, because the size of the row is 3 over here. So 0 to 2, it will be 3. Similarly for the column, it is from 0 to 3, as it is 4, means it will go from 0 to 3 if we choose the lower bound as 0 for both row and column. But if someone chosen that lower bound as 1, then this value will be replaced by 1 1 and it will run, means x11 will be there. Then in the second row it will be x, for this value it will be x2, then 1, means it purely depends on the programmer, what he or she have chosen, what he or she have written in the program. But generally for array, we start storing the data from the 0th index. Okay, so next is multi-dimensional array. Multi-dimensional array is that you can see in this bit that first is 3, the value is 3, means there will be 3 different array, and this is 3 3, means there will have 3 row and 3 columns. Means for this example, those are the row number and 3 rows are there, and for this it will be the column number, so 3 columns are there. So for the first array, it will be, for this element, it will be x0 0 0, means 0 is the first array. it will be the second array, it will be the third array. So 0, 1, 2, these three arrays are there, and those are the two-dimensional array having row and column. And for the first thing, we have 3 rows and 3 columns. Second, also we have 3 rows, 3 columns, like this way. Okay, so this is the type of the array. Next class, in the next class, we will on the part 2 of this lecture, we will know about the representation of the array and how much element we can store in an array. So for this time being, thank you all. If you have any question regarding this session, then you can write me at trishita.ghosh@gnit.ac.in. So thank you. Thank you for showing your interest. Thank you all.